Hello, this is Sophie Sanchez, and this is my recorded presentation for my argumentative essay for a composition class over the immigration field topic, or more precisely, why I believe the U.S. government is not taking the right decisions on the immigration field. To start off my presentation, I want to talk about the overview of my essay and my presentation. My topic is the process to become a U.S. citizen. Is it fair enough or not? I chose it because I have personal experiences with it, and I also wanted to inform myself for further experiences I may have once I decide to become a citizen of the United States. My stance on it is a total disagreement with the process, but mostly with the tests that you have to take in order to become a citizen. And my purpose is to educate my readers in the difficulty of the process to get my point and why I believe they're not fair enough. My first main point is what it means to become a U.S. citizen. Lots of immigrants do it because it's beneficial for their family and themselves. When you become a naturalized citizen, you have pretty much any or every right that any other citizen has. You can apply for FAFSA, you can get government help and get a better job, etc. But this is a hard process for the immigrants because they had to go over requisites that may not be the best, such as the prior time of not getting out of the country in order to apply for the citizenship. If you want to become a citizen, you have to stay in the country for at least 30 months prior before starting your whole process, which is gonna keep you in the country a lot more than that. And the citizenship tests are one of my main points, so I'm gonna talk about it later on. They're ridiculously expensive. The process itself, it's ridiculously expensive. Not only if you want to become a naturalized citizen, but even if you want to stay here as a non-permanent resident, just for a working visa or a student visa, you have to pay over $2,500 per year. And if you want to become a naturalized citizen, it can be over $11,000, if not more, by not adding other expenses such as lawyers, trials, trips that you may do, etc. You also have to wait a lot of time for your response, and that's a hard requisite because there's really not a specific timeline. It all depends in your process and your case and how the government handles it. So it could take from 2 years to 20 years. It really isn't a set timeline for it. And over that time, you may have struggles to get a job, or, well, for obvious reasons, you can't get out of the country, which can make a lot of emotional stress on you. My second main point is the citizenship itself. The citizenship test itself. Is it fair or not fair? In the articles I read, I found out that you have to take a 10 question test over a 100 question study guide that they give you. And I wonder myself if that was enough to demonstrate how compromised you are with the country. I also find out that 1 out of 3 native born Americans can answer that test. So I asked myself if why you don't ask those questions to your citizens if they are, the Native Americans or the native born Americans. Why are you asking those questions to immigrants when your citizens can't even answer those questions? It just didn't seem fair to me. And yes, citizenship tests may be great sometimes, but they're not being used in the correct way. My third point is the process itself. Is it beneficial or non beneficial? And as myself, I thought that this process is non beneficial because families are being tear apart. And this could be one of the reasons why illegal immigration goes higher. because the expenses are almost impossible to cover up, even if you just want to become a international student. You have to pay a lot of money, and you're not really giving the opportunity to us to keep helping the US economy for while we wait for the process or our processes to be done. And by not seeing a good response from the government, by not making the process faster, it's just making this a lot of, it's creating a lot of emotional stress and mental draining. It's a mental draining process. And if you don't pass the citizenship requirements, you have to wait another 5 years to reapply. So it's really, really hard for you to actually become a citizen, and you have to be ready for it. But some of the requirements are really ridicule, and it just doesn't seem fair to me. In some of the opposing views, they talked about why the citizenships are necessary, and at some point they are. But is there a really good way of showing that immigrants are actually learning it for good, or is it only for this process? And why not make citizens or native born citizens to be required to take that test too? It just seems ridiculous and unfair to me that immigrants have to know this information and citizens don't. Like, I just, I don't know, it just seems weird because immigrants may have never taken a government class or an American history class, so it makes it harder. But there's citizens who really don't care about this information at all, and they're not being required to take a test over civics or English tests, and that seems really unfair. Another opposing view was that they believe this is their way of keeping security in their country high. But it isn't really, because there's also a background check that every immigrant has to go through before entering the country. And that process itself can take from a month to 3 months. So I think that this process of citizenship has nothing to do with security. And also, there's over 60,000 social security numbers and residencies that are given randomly in the diversity lottery for people who apply for it. And through this, they don't truly check who or to who is being given the opportunity to stay here and work here. It's pretty much a luck thing. And the last opposing view I looked for is that they talk about how immigrants can they have the decision to go back to their country. But what if they don't? What if they're refugees? Or what if the economy is awful in their country? There's also reasons why immigrants come to this country. Not only because they want to do harm, just like terrorists or anything like that, but there's also families who are suffering who don't have any food or job in their country, so they decide to come here to start a new life for their family and themselves. My conclusion is that I don't completely disagree with the process because I know it's necessary, but I don't think it's being handled in the right way, which makes this easier to for bad people to get here easily and good working people harder to stay here because it's just so expensive. And like I said, it's ridiculously expensive. I don't think there's a necessity to make it that expensive and impossible to pay for. And this might not be the main reason for it, but it does help illegal immigration to be higher by just not giving the opportunity or making it easier and cheaper for good immigrants to come to the country. Thank you.